what's your bass of choice?
A Squire.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing.
Affinity.
Oh,
Precision bass.
oh, stunning.
Hello and welcome to In the Pocket, the bass guitar podcast where we get the lowdown on the low end. I kind of said that in a bit of a different phrasing there, and that throws me off. Here we go. My name's Johnny, a totally average bass player, and each week I am joined by my beautiful co-host to talk all about that bass. You know him, returning guest, friend, full-time session bass player. It's Chris. Chris Horrocks, how are you doing?
Hello there. I'm very well, Johnny. How are you?
If we could just start the podcast with an Obi-Wan hello there each time, that's
Always.
Fine.
Oh, and if you want to do the Obi-Wan going forward, I can channel my inner asthmatic and do General Grievous. I'll do the response.
Well, there's a couple of asthmatics. You've got Vader as well. Could have done him.
Oh, that's very true. I know, but he's got the famous reply, which now, if you come in to think of it, I can't remember the reply.
let's why don't we do a Han Solo Princess Leia reply? I love you. I know.
I know.
Do you know that was it? That was improvised. The original script says I love you too.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you know? Do you know the famous thing about the quote? You know, the "I am your father." How?
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone else on the set. Well, everyone except George Lucas and the camera guy. And Mark Hamill. They were the only people who were told that it was actually, I am your father. Everyone else heard Obi-Wan killed your father, and that was the no moment.
Yeah.
And Mark Hamill had to keep that secret for like 3 years.
What a man!
Brilliant.
So cool.
I couldn't do that.
So cool. Anyway, spin-off Star Wars podcast coming soon. Let's crack on with the bass chat on this one. Have you had a exciting week, Chris? What have you been up to?
I'm trying to think what I've really been up to this week. The only thing I've had to do is I had to go to Sunderland for a rehearsal. I went to Sunderland for a rehearsal, which was 5 hours of driving for a 2-hour rehearsal. But realistically, it was more of a pre-production tech run. It's for a series of sort of like Christmas theatre shows I'm doing in December up in the northeast. So I was doing those. That was quite fun. That's all kind of like it's like a decade style performance, which a lot of these gigs I get booked on will be, where your set list is basically in chronological order. So we start off with something like We Are Family, or something like, what do we actually start with? Wow, can't remember. I really hope they're not listening.
I thought it was going to go really far back. So we start out with a bit of Baroque and some classical.
Oh yeah,
and we
we actually start with smashing rocks together and screaming rhythmically, and then we move on to Gregorian chant, and then the Beatles.
Nice.
No, it's it opens with "Ain't Nobody," Shaka Khan, with this big musical theatre like ba bam ba bum da 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 dun da 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 dun da 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 dun, boo, kind of big, like cheesy. The really good fun. It's all sight reading, and then it moves down, and then like the last 3 songs are like pure bangers. So it's like Mr. Brightside, Sex on Fire. Earlier on in the set, we do Lady Marmalade, and I will say, bass players out there, please learn Lady Marmalade on bass. It is so fun to play on bass. It's just 2 G minor pentatonic riffs, but it's just so good. Like, I want Royal Blood to do a cover of it. I think Royal Blood would smash it.
That would be awesome.
Well, they already did My Sharona, which was amazing.
Yeah, I the only cover I've seen them do was they did Bohemian Rhapsody at Reading.
How?
I know.
There's 2 of them.
I know. They did that, but then the set after that was Panic at the Disco, who also did a cover of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh no!
It was like, oh, awkward.
I remember when I was in high school, one of my friends went to see Kings of Leon at the Arena in Manchester, and the opening band did like a little 8-bar snippet of Sex on Fire. as like a little. And I think their intention was meant to be like a, "Are you all
Get
excited to
ready.
hear this, late?" And then they played it, but they got booed off stage.
By
Like,
Kings of Leon off stage. Woo.
boo! No, but
Oh
full
my
on like
god.
mega booing, like mega. And then, funnily enough, my last tangent, some same guy went to see the same year, went to see the Killers, and they got 3 songs in. Brandon Flowers pulled the plug, and they walked off. He sort of stopped the song and went, "I've just blown my vocal cords. We're gonna have to stop. I'm
Oh
sorry."
no.
He said something like, "You will all get a refund. I'm really sorry." And they just all walked off, and they all got a refund for it in the end because it was like a clause, I think, of if the band had to stop within 20 minutes of the set for whatever reason. And I guess they'd
Yeah.
decided. But yeah, and then I think they cancelled the next date, and then they were back for like the final London show. But yeah, he just sort of he said it was really weird. They were like halfway through whatever song's the third song in the set, and he just went, "Stop, guys, we're gonna have to go. I'm sorry, I've blown my vocal cords. You'll get a refund, thank you," and just left.
Wow. That's interesting,
Mental.
isn't it? Like, what is the
Yeah.
right thing to do there? Because on one hand, you're like, okay, yeah, fair enough. Like, you don't want to make permanent damage. You don't want to do anything wrong. You don't want to put on a bad show. But then at the same time, everybody's going to be disappointed in
I
in that
think,
scenario.
yeah, I think it's more disappointing for you to pull the plug and stop. I think it probably would be better if maybe they finished that song and he went, I'm really sorry, everyone. I've just felt my vocal cords go. I, I can't give you the full experience tonight. If
Yeah.
you're happy for us to continue, we can continue on. And can you guys sing the big bits? Is that okay? And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that would be more of a
Well,
nicer way. The other one was I went to see I'm doing some tangents today. I am sorry, but it is funny. Um, I went to see Limp Bizkit at Sonisphere when I was like 15 or 16, and Slipknot were coming on after them, and it was the first UK Slipknot gig since Joey Jordison died. So it was like a big deal
right.
basically.
Yeah.
And Limp Bizkit was supposed to be on for like an hour and 20 minutes, and they got to like 50 minutes in, and Fred Durst was like, "Let's be honest, people. You all want to see Slipknot. I want to see Slipknot. What would your thoughts be on us wrapping this up a little bit early? And I'll see if I can get them on early." And they made the crowd
Everyone
vote.
in the tech team's like, what are you
Exactly,
doing?
stage manager fuming, but yeah, he got the crowd to vote, and the crowd voted for Slipknot, and even Fred Durst was like, "I want to see Slipknot," and
He's
yeah,
like, I'm done. I want my
they
tea.
played. I think they played like My Way, then Rolling, and then went so basically finished like 15 minutes early, and went right. We'll see what we can do. Slipknot didn't come on early, but
No.
because they had to set up a massive production, but
Yeah.
still, I thought it was a funny gesture. Anyway, how was your
Wow.
week?
Interesting, interesting. It was very good, thank you. I'm gonna put in a story of my own here that I had lined up because we once went to see A Day to Remember in Cardiff, and it was like the story so far. Exactly. Well, there was none of that. There was none of that because
What?
yeah, because it was I think it was Mallory Knox, Let Live, Story So Far, and A Day to Remember on this lineup, which for me was like insane, so good. And A Day to Remember, then it got to like an hour after the doors had opened, and we hadn't moved anywhere in the queue, and it was going round the building. We're like, what is going on
Oh,
here?
really?
And then people started walking away saying it's been cancelled. We're like, what? So eventually word got out. Yeah, it's been cancelled because Jeremy, the vocalist, his vocals, he's been in the hospital all day, like, can't get it sorted in time. Like, they're going to have to pull the show. But I was really annoyed that that cancelled the entire show because there was still all the bands on the lineup that I was like, I want to see them all. I mean, I don't know.
And they were headlining though. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, it was just the
Yeah.
headliner that couldn't do it. And I was like, oh, but I really wanted to see everyone else. So that
I
kind of
wonder what
sucked.
there must be some sort of legal reason or something where it's like if
Yeah.
the headline act can't do it, we have to stop the whole show because of there'll be
Mm.
some logistical thing involving like, well, the venue won't pay. So because
There
the
might
venue
be
won't
there
pay, we have
might
to
be some
cancel
kind
it.
of like ticket cut thing as well, or like what people came
Yeah.
to see, and when you get refunds, what happens with that, yeah.
There
So
must be other, yeah, I'm assuming it must be something to do with like, well, we're going to spend X hundreds of pounds on bar staff, and then we're going to end, and also they'll all be ending their
mm,
shift like 2 hours earlier because
yeah,
the
that's
last
true.
2 hours
So
will not be
all these things I
happening.
hadn't thought about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's an interesting thing when you start when you tour and you do the logistics of gigs and stuff, and you see that it really is a business. It really is.
yeah,
You see all these little things of like, oh, you know what? I've been coming to gig venues since I was 13, and I never thought about that for 1 second.
yeah. Crazy, and you just go,
Just
oh, do you
loads
know
of
what?
moving parts. Yeah,
Big time. Um, yeah, wow. 10 minutes in, not a word about bass yet.
feels good.
Pretty good.
Feels good.
Here's a lot of bass coming your way though. My week has been excellent. This week after the whole viewers of my channel will know that I got some Squire Contemporary series basses. Two of them didn't work, so I sent them back, got a refund. Fender reached out on Instagram and said, "Hey, we saw your video. Do you want a free one?" And I was like, "Yep, yes, please." So they sent one out, a 5-string version, which was very kind, and it was damaged in transit. So, and I just emailed them to say, "Look, it's arrived damaged. I don't care about cosmetic damage really. Don't waste sending out another one. It's fine. Like, it's fine." And then they said, "No, we'd still like to give you one, but why don't you come up to London to pick it up, instead of wasting the energy of us sending it out, and have a tour around the studio?" And I was like, or the artist showroom, and I was like, "Yes, please." Absolutely, yes, please. So I did that, and then they said, "Actually, do you want to keep the? Do you really want another Contemporary Series P bass, or do you want to choose something else?" And I was like, "Yes, please." Again, so they gave me a choice of a couple of basses, and the one that I wanted the most out of those was the Squire Classic Vibe Mustang, which we will hear later on in this podcast. But yeah, what an insane day it was, seeing a bit of behind the scenes at Fender, not just Fender, Gretsch, EVH, Jackson, Charvel. They had a different floor for each of these brands, and you could go in the amp room, which was incredible, and just pick up as many as you want, go and play them in a room by yourself with a 8x10 and a Super Bassman full valve amp. And I was like, in heaven. It was a really cool day, and yeah, shout out to Fender for being very accommodating and for amazing hospitality whilst we were there. Yeah, it was an insane day, and
Now,
there should be a vlog coming out soon, but there we go.
now that is how you claim a manufacturer warranty. Absolutely.
Rinse them dry, he said.
Exactly. Hi there. I've had a small issue with this. Oh, would you like to just do everything?
Yeah, I was like,
We've got Leo
okay.
Fender on the phone from the grave.
It was just silence and just a lot of dirt rustling. So strange.
Maybe it was the reception. I don't know. I do have a quick question. I know you've picked the Mustang. Did they give you a selection of options?
Yes, yes. So
Would
they
you
said,
like to save that for your blog, or are you willing to tell me now
no,
what they were
no,
willing to give you?
I'll tell you now. So they said, do you want one of these three? They gave me three options. One
Ooh.
was the Squire Affinity Jaguar with the single humbucker, the medium scale one. So that one I didn't want because I've already played that bass and reviewed it on the channel, and it was okay. I didn't love it, so I was like, "Well, that's an obvious no for me. I don't want to get that one." They offered me a Classic Vibe Bass 6 in the new walnut color, which I don't think, when they sent it to me and sent me a picture, it hadn't been like announced yet. And that's a bit of a spoiler of the news items that's coming up later. But they offered me one of those, which is really cool. I really like bass sixes, but I don't really have a purpose for having one. I've already reviewed one, the Schecter one. I feel like I've said everything I want to say about bass sixes, and I was like, don't know. And then they offered me the Squire Mustang, and I've actually been in the market for a Mustang. I kind of miss having a short scale because I don't have the Gretsch anymore, and I've been really enjoying Mustang type tones recently, and yeah, I was just like, that's a sign. It's got to be that one. And I was hoping it was going to be in the kind of special run color, the orange that they did with the red racing stripe. They also did it in a blue with a white stripe. And yeah, it was, and I was like, yes, the stars have aligned. It's got to be this one. So yeah, chuffed to have come home with that. It was a lovely, lovely day. And yeah, thanks to Fender for being just so accommodating about the whole thing and just super, super kind, trying to butter me up.
Sounds like you picked the right one.
Yeah, I think so.
I
For
think out of the
what I
three, I would.
wanted.
Yeah, I think out of the three, I think I would have gone for that too. I mean, the first one sounds quite interesting as well, but yeah, I think the Mustang would have been a good one. Originally, in my head, for some reason, I imagined they were gonna offer you just one of anything, like whatever you want,
Oh,
and
can you
you pick
imagine?
exactly like I imagine them, sitting in front of you and going, "So, we've got here a Pino Palladino, custom shop signature bass," and then Johnny's like, "I'll take the Squire Mustang, please,"
It's so on brand.
because
Yeah, well,
branding.
well, in my Instagram post I did about it, I put up a load of pictures of like playing some really nice basses and like the new American Vintage 2 range that we spoke about previously, like with the 54 style P bass, and
Yeah.
there was a custom shop jazz bass that I played as well. I like all these insanely expensive guitars. And I got to like play across the price range as well. Played the new Player Plus range, played the new Meteora.
Oh,
That was
cool.
probably a standout for me, honestly. The Meteora, I was really surprised at how nice the preamp was. Fender Active Electronics, I've never really been a big fan of.
Hmm.
And that one actually was really good, really good. It
And
sounded
is that
awesome.
is that a Fender? Is it a Squire?
It's a Fender. Yeah, it's
Okay.
they're just over £1,000, I think, the Meteoras, but they're Mexican made. But
See.
yeah, it was really nice. My favorites that I played was a kind of stained natural um, jazz bass, which is an American professional. That thing, it was the first one I picked up because I was like, that I like the look of that. Let's give that a go. And yeah, that was my favorite bass that I played. I think it was so nice, and it's not even like a top price range one. But yeah, it just felt the best. I thought it played the best. I just thought it sounded super zingy, exactly what I wanted out of a jazz bass in that moment in time. So yeah, I had a lot of fun playing that. Amazing day
Nice.
overall.
Nice.
Shall we? I'm sure some moments of that will come up again later on, but shall we jump into our first question?
Let's do it. Question one. Um, this is addressed to you, Johnny. So I'm going to say it verbatim and quote it exactly how it is given. Hi, Johnny. Not Chris. Very rude. I was wondering what pick you use and why. Do you use more than one type? Close quotes.
Hmm. Wow. Well, Chris, I'm going to pass it back to you in the first instance. What is your type?
Sorry if I was on Love Island for a second then. Uh, what's the type on paper?
Yeah.
I use one. I use one pick for everything. I use the now I use the Dunlop .60 gauge bass pick. It's the
Ooh.
orange one, if I remember
Mm-hmm.
correctly. Yeah, I use that for absolutely everything now. If I need to use a pick, um, I've used pretty much every thickness. I've used that big, massive purple one that's like 2 and a bit mil. Um, that's the one. No, the one that's got like a big divot in the middle. That's even thicker than that, I
Oh,
think. One
yeah.
that's like
This is
I
a
think it's
thick boy.
called a big stubby or something like that. Great name. Um, all the way down to the point six. And I use the point six now mainly because when I discovered it, I was playing a lot of metal, a lot of like progressive heavy stuff with the band I was in at the time, and essentially I was chasing down that periphery Nolly bass tone,
Mm.
and watched a really good interview. It's on the Scott's Bass Lessons YouTube page where Nolly talks about why he uses a point 0.6, and I'll go watch the video for some more detail. But the
I remember
main
seeing
ver
this video
I
actually.
think you've seen it, yeah. The main reason he does it is if you use a thick pick and you're hitting the strings really hard, essentially one of two things has to give first, either the pick or the string. If the string goes, which is what will happen because the pick is considerably stronger than the string, especially when it's detuned, you will struggle with intonation, your tuning. You will lose a lot of the attack and the fundamental because you're essentially caning the living crap out of the string, and
Yeah.
it's suffering because of it. Whereas if you drop that pick down, it bends as it hits the string, so you strike through the string at minimal disturbance to the stability of the string. And when I heard it, I thought, "Oh, give over. This is one of these holistic approaches to playing the bass." But I was at a gig, someone had a point 0.60. I think they were playing acoustic guitar, so I was like, "Can I just borrow it for a second?" And I was in standard tuning, and I was just playing my jazz bass, and I noticed an immediate increase in mid range, like very, very noticeable, because I think it was just giving the string a lot more room to breathe. So
Mm.
as a result, I was just getting more usable tone, if that all makes sense. And I know these are
Interesting. Yeah.
normally I'm quite cynical of stuff like this. If someone says, "Oh, you should use a specific brand of Brillo pads as a mute for your flat wound strings, otherwise it won't sound like the real Motown tone," and certain things like that. I'm normally like, "Nah, I don't really buy that. I don't really believe that. Or whatever
Yeah.
change it is
I just use a
so
scrub daddy.
exactly, and then I'll do the dishes afterwards." Yeah, but normally I don't really buy into stuff like that, and any change that is there is so not noticeable. It's such a small change. But I will say, using the point 0.6, a massive change in the sound. And I don't want to try a different pick now. I'm very, very happy with point 0.6. That's me. And
Nice.
I use the
Nice.
same pick for guitar as well. How about you?
Yeah. Lovely. So mine is actually I use a little bit thicker. I do want to try point 0.6 though now because for years I was on 0.73 that I was using, which is just the one up from the point 0.6, the yellow Tortex ones. These are all Dunlop Tortex ones. And in terms of size and feel, that's just home for me and just super grippy and nice. I don't go for these like weird shaped ones. Now I'm kind of leaning more to 0.88. That's my kind
Ooh,
of realm at the
stunning.
minute. Yeah, yeah. Wow, that was perfect. Perfect
Thank
impression
you.
there. Um,
Did
the
that on purpose. Sorry, please continue.
no, it's okay. The northern twang really helps, I think.
Thank you.
So I think yeah, it's the green Tortex ones I'm using at the minute, and that came about. I don't actually. The most of the ones that I have are still the 73s. I'm burning through them slowly.
Do you,
But
quick question, you say you're burning through them. Are you breaking them or are you losing them?
losing. I'm not breaking them. They'll either become rounded off because I've used them for so long and they've been in and out of pockets for God knows how long through the washing machine, or I just lose them. In fact, I left one at the Fender artist showroom. I was really
Oh
annoyed. I
no,
was
I
like,
guess.
that was my wallet pick. It's gone now.
I guess we'll have to go back.
Yeah. What a shame that would
What a
be.
shame.
But yeah, so that for me was I'm leaning more towards the 8/8s now because of Dark Glass. Actually, now when you get a pedal, it comes with a free pick, and I just was like, oh, that's nice. I'll just put it in my pick holder, and then I more and more found myself using that pick loads. And I've had a couple as I've had a couple of their pedals, and yeah, I just really like that thickness. And I looked up what it was, and the 0.88
Interesting.
Tortex ones. Yeah, so that's where my where I'm sitting currently. I might go and pick up a 6 though, just to experiment with that, because I used to be way thinner picks, and I've kind of, and people are like, why are you using them so thin? You're playing bass, like you should be playing thicker picks. And so I've just gradually moved up over time. So I will go check out some thin boys. Wow, just looking on Dunlop's website, you can get one. Oh no, yeah, one. That's massive. The purple 1.4. Bloody hell, you can really go thick, can't you? Who's using that?
Yeah, they do a thicker one. Or is it Ernie Ball that do it? It's translucent. It's purple, and it's so thick that it has a big divot at the top where you put your finger. And that's what I remember when I first ever played a bass, I used that and it was fine. There's nothing wrong with that pick, but I will say another really great advantage of going thinner is stamina. I've noticed. So I've done a lot of my gigs. I'm playing for a long time. You know, I may be doing 2 1-hour sets. If I'm doing, any sort of, fancy corporate gig, I could be on stage for about 3 hours with a 30-minute break in between, or weddings, stuff like that. You're on your feet and you're playing for a long time. And I remember specifically because I had 2 gigs in 1 week. One week I had my 0.6, and then later on in the week, I was wearing a different pair of pants, so I didn't have it. So I borrowed the guitarist's spare pick, and I think he had a... Oh, I don't know. I don't think it was bigger than a 1 mil, but it was on the way there, and it was fine. I got through the gig, but I did notice halfway through, I was like, "Wow, I'm getting," and I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. I was getting some serious forearm fatigue, which is not something I'm used to, Jonathan. But yeah,
With that right hand,
absolutely.
I think it's just down to the amount of effort you need to put in to get it past the string, honestly. And it sounds really silly, but a lot goes into that. And if you're just doing a lot of downstrokes, maybe that's not so bad. But even if you've got that little flexibility, if you're going up and down with a pick, you're kind of getting, imagine I'm waving a pick right now, just of how it bends in your hand and how quickly it can get back to normal, to do that next stroke. So it kind of helps your hand in that way.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Approach.
And a lot of
thicker,
you're
going to be doing it more.
Absolutely. And a lot of the material I play will be, it could just be the whole song is straight eighth notes at 130 something for the whole, you're going or one of the songs I've had to do for a few weddings in a row now is A Little Respect, and the bass line to that has the same rhythm. It's dun 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 dun. That and that's alternate picked, obviously. I mean, not that I couldn't downpick it, but that's not the point. But yeah, doing that with the thicker pick, I was like, I'm struggling here. Actually, I'm having to put a bit more effort in because I know there's such fine, I feel like we're talking about such insignificant details sometimes, but how many times do you think you hit the string if you're on stage for 3 hours? It must be thousands of times. How many picks you're doing over time? That's going to add up if you're all of a sudden having to move twice the mass that you're used to doing.
Twice the mass, double the fun, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into every element of playing, I think, and picks can play a surprisingly big role in that. Thank you so much for the question. Let us move on to the news. It's time for the news. We've got some big news. We've got some little news all over the place this week, but lots of exciting news nonetheless. So let's jump straight into it. Starting off, mentioned this a little bit earlier. Squier have dropped some new kind of special limited runs of the contemporary series guitars and basses. So these are just new finishes, basically. Nothing different spec-wise here. We've got a new contemporary series jazz bass color, which is all black hardware, the roasted maple neck. In my opinion, it is the best looking one they've done yet. I think it is gorgeous looking. A bit of a sucker for an all black bass. And then we've also got some new colors for the bass 6, one of which is a very Danish Pete from Anderton's looking purple. I think it might actually be an Anderton's exclusive, actually, that one.
I think it is.
Really cool. It is, yeah. Nice. So that one is just purple, matching headstock as well, with a torqued pick guard, so pretty darn cool. And then there is also a walnut version, which I think a lot of people would have just hit buy straight away on that one because it is super cool looking. Walnut, cream or white pickups, and then the black block inlays and a black scratch plate on there as well. No matching headstock with that one, but I suppose it's a maple neck, so it's a bit different. Yeah, super cool. I love it when they do these special runs. It just offers something a little bit extra down the line, and I like that they've left it a while since these have been launched, not just like a couple of weeks later, here's some new colors. So yeah, really cool. Have you seen the Squire Contemporary series one, Chris?
I have, yes. I absolutely agree with the all black and the roasted maple. You know what, as well? I'm really enjoying how roasted maple is just appearing on such cheaper bases now. Because I know
Yeah,
it's meant to be an upgrade from standard maple, and I personally don't know if it's a huge increase in tone, but I personally think visually it's such a massive increase in, and it makes whatever you put a roasted maple neck on look so much higher quality and so much more premium. And I'm really
yeah.
enjoying that. Squire have just done this. Sire have done it. I think there was a
Harley
few Harley
Benton doing
Bentons we've
it.
spoken.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I just think it takes um I just think it takes the products up such a notch, which doesn't matter. I don't think it matters too much when you're at a more professional level or a more intermediate level. But when you're just starting out, I really do think if you think that the instrument you're playing looks cool, you want to play it more. I mean, I do now. Like when I feel
massively.
like exactly that, when I feel a bit disheartened, I need to play something. I get the Music Man out because I'm like, this is so cool, and then it makes me want to play more, even if the thing I'm playing is not going to be with the Music Man. It might be with my P bass, for example. But yeah, these look fantastic, and the bass six looks great too. I really like that walnut finish. I'm a sucker for block inlays. If we ever do an
Hmm.
episode on signature series basses, I will be doing block inlays for sure.
We should do that again actually because I've done it before you were a regular co-host on this podcast, Chris.
Oh,
I
see,
have
okay,
answered that before, so we'll definitely return to that because for me
yeah,
that's
let's do
what's
that.
changing anyway. So that would be cool.
I mean, I
Speaking
already
of
know
block
mine.
inlays,
Oh, yeah,
well, there we go. You've
yeah,
got it down. Save it. Okay, don't want
I
to
will.
hear it,
I will. Okay,
but
very
I
well.
will. Speaking of block inlays, oh, good segue that was. The Music Man have announced the 35th anniversary Stingray 5 that we've got. This thing looks insane. It is ash body, flame maple neck. It's a 5-string, so it's that single humbucker in there. Normal preamp looking stuff. Block inlays, which look really nice. I don't know how to describe the finish. The neck looks insane. The inlays are really nice as well. They're kind of like this kind of like marbly effect. I'd like to have a worktop with that in, please, Music Man. There's a binding around the body as well, which bindings as well just really can add, especially with block inlays as well. But going around the body just looks so nice. Oh, I've got the finish. It is spalted sunburst. Ooh, really cool. All black hardware, gold dots on the magnets as well. Gold magnets. Can you believe it?
I love
Yeah,
gold.
I love gold. How much do you think this costs?
Are they 3.5 grand?
Well,
No, I'm
I've
gonna
got a
say four and
price
a
in.
half. Four and a half.
You're not far off.
Go on.
So I'm on Toman right now, and it is 5 grand,
Okay. You know
but
what?
free shipping.
Oh, free shipping. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll take two. You know what? I'm gonna say it. And I don't think it's a controversial opinion. That's the best looking stingray I've ever seen in my life.
It's so good, isn't it? Like I used to think the slugger was my favorite, like the more natural looking one,
Mm.
but this might take the cherry. Oh, even from the back with the flamed neck, and it just looks so good. It's got a
Yeah,
bit of
it's
a
insane. Insane.
interestingly, it looks like it's got a different piece of wood for the front of the bass compared to the back. Because I'm looking through pictures on Toman, and their front and back view, the wood is wildly different.
Okay.
So that's interesting. But yeah, it's a wild looking guitar, and it's of course going to be insane quality. I'm assuming that these are going to be super limited runs. I don't know how many they've done. If this seems like your thing that you want, then bloody go for it, because these will not be around forever and are likely only to go up in value, to be fair. And for £5 starting out, that's pretty big value already. So really, really cool. I would love to. Hey, I'm hoping now that I'm gonna. Actually, that's a great idea. I'm gonna buy a Stingray and pray that there's something wrong with it, so that then it can go sent back, and I get invited to America to go and have a look around the Music Man showroom and take home one of those. There we go.
I think we've
Done.
got a lucrative business plan here in case, especially because I am more than willing to intercept the post van, Guy Ritchie style, and smash this one parcel and then bring it back to you.
No, you're smashing the lot just in the hope
Okay,
of every
yeah,
van that's coming through, just in the hope that
exactly.
it's that.
Yeah, brands will soon fear Karen Dibble.
That's my new Instagram handle.
I'd like to
At
speak to
Karen
your
Dibble.
manager, please, at Karen Dibble. Please, I mean, don't do this, but please change it.
No. For one
I
night
feel like
only.
I feel like this could be an episode of Always Sunny, like the gang claim the manufacturer warranty or something like that.
Let's do
Oh
it.
dear.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Um,
Absolutely.
So yeah, Stingray 35th anniversary looks very flipping nice. Yes, please.
Agreed.
Next up, this is a bit of an older bit of news, really, because it's Dark Glass. They launched some new heads, didn't they? They've got 200-watt versions, mini little versions of the. Hang on. What are they?
Got the name of it, haven't you?
I've forgotten the name. I just wrote Dark Glass heads in my notes. We've got a Alpha Omega little one, and then I think it's just the microtubes, which is based on the B7K.
Yeah,
type
yeah,
head.
it's the
I
market
don't think
tubes model. Yeah,
it's not like the Ultra one, but yeah, I'm not sure what to think about these or who they're for. They are more affordable. Let me just double check the price a minute. I mean, you've got a Dark Glass head, haven't you?
yeah. I've got the AO 900, which is kind of the. I mean, none of them are big because they're all very tiny. But it's
Yeah.
it's the highest wattage model, and that thing's a monster. To be fair.
Yeah. Does this appeal, or would this appeal to you? 200-watt version?
Um, Am I right in saying that it is essentially just the head, but in a 200-watt version? It's not like the oh, what's the product called they recently brought out, which has all the digital effects
Oh,
built in?
the Exponent.
Yeah, so it's not like the Exponent.
No, 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 no.
I mean, to be honest, yeah, I can see the appeal, but this kind of goes back to our question we did last time,
Mm,
about how much wattage is enough. Now, I am assuming this is a Class D power amp,
I
which is
believe
kind of
so.
what it's going to have to be, really. So nothing wrong with a Class D power amp, by the way. For those of you who don't know, it's just a solid state power amp, but it's great. The AO 900 has one, and pretty much all of your smaller bass heads, smaller in size, will have one because it's just
Yeah.
valves are big. Um, See the appeal. I think it's fantastic. My only concern really would be how loud can it actually go at 200 watts. Now, and again, this purely depends on your situation. For me, a lot of the shows I do for work, weddings, corporate gigs, function gigs, hotels, holiday parks, 200 watts would be more than enough because, quite frankly, I run a DI and I still get told I'm too loud. So
Yeah.
there's that. And if you're one of these people who doesn't want to gig, there's nothing wrong with that. I think this is a great option for you if you want that sound, but you don't want to have something silly loud, and save yourself a little bit of money. Um, my only concern really would be, just how loud can it actually go for the people who actually need the volume. Like a lot of your gigs, you need an amp, don't you? You're playing in loud bands and stuff. And I would imagine at 200 watts into, say, 410, for example,
Yeah.
you would be pushing this quite hard. It would be nearly full, I imagine.
Yeah. It totally, like you say, it depends on what the setup is of the event. Like a big festival that you're playing, how much volume do you really need coming out of the amp? When it's especially when you front of house is getting a DI. Depends if they're taking a mix off the cab as well. There are lots of things to take into account. Depending on the size of show that you're playing and what you need it for, really. It's good that they've catered for this market as well, though. I think these are £407 or £480, kind of that price range. So,
Oh yeah,
it
that's
is a
nearly
more
half the price
affordable
of the.
version.
Yeah, it's nearly half the price of the 900-watt heads, and if you don't, and I mean, there's a few differences on the controls. Am I right in saying? I'm just having a quick look
Yeah.
now. Look at the front panel. This is dead air while I look because Google Images doesn't want to show me a picture.
Well,
He
that's
just wants me
fine.
to.
Well, I
He
actually
just
want
wants
to
me to
talk a little
buy
bit
one
about that
instead.
front panel.
Go on, you talk because annoyingly I can't find anything about it. There we go. Go on,
So,
please continue.
so I need words. I need not
Go on.
symbols, please. I need words on
Oh, I've found it
on the
now.
head.
It's all
It's all
symbols, isn't it? Yeah.
yes, and like I got the Alpha Omega bit fine. Yeah, mid range and low high. I think I wear that out. Okay, the is that a dry and wet blend? I don't
Top left
know.
is
What's
top left is the mix because it's
yeah.
dry and then there's a water
Then
droplet, which
there's
is
a
quite
little
funny actually. I
droplet.
quite like that personally.
Yeah, I for me, if I'm on stage and I'm like, oh, I've got to adjust something, I'll look back and be like, what is it? Even like a microsecond more that it takes me to work out what that knob is. That is annoying to me. I just have the word.
The funniest application of this would be if I was on a gig and the one of the techs came up to me and went, if or I shouted to them and gone, "There's too much mid range. Front of house want me to duck it. Would you mind just running over and doing that?" I'm imagining some geezer who used to tech for Motorhead or something like that. Some guy in his 50s. He's seen it all. He's got a face like rugged leather. I can imagine him walking over and being like, "What is
Yeah.
this?" Firstly, you'd probably shout at me for not bringing an SVT.
Yeah.
And then secondly, you'd be like, "What's these bloody millennial symbols on here? Like, you can't say anything these days," or something like that. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I'm not going
I've
to
got a bit
offend
of
anyone if I say I don't like this amp.
oh, what's this bloody is this your gender on here? This symbol now, not a word? Ooh.
Oh yeah, oh god, I could honestly, and I hate to say this out loud, I could genuinely imagine someone being like that, and then I'd have to
Yeah.
just shout at them.
Yeah. Unplug, hit them with the bass,
Walk off.
run away.
I'm going
Yeah.
home.
I'm just side note. I'm just on GAC's website. They've rebranded.
Is the GAC website different?
It's totally different.
Interesting.
They've
All right,
ditched.
guitar.
They've ditched the red.
What?
It's just yellow, black, and white now. New logo.
Oh my god,
new
it's a
fonts.
bumblebee.
Yeah.
Interesting. This is a stupid question. I was going to say, you don't live near GAC, do you?
No, I've been there once.
Nowhere near. Bristol and Brighton. Nowhere near each other.
Nowhere near.
Nope.
But it was a good time. It was a good time. Pretty small
Is it
job.
quite big?
But no, it seemed pretty small, and the bass section's like it's a nice little like cave that you go into to play. But I played a Gibson short scale Les Paul Junior bass that was crap.
Oh no.
Yeah.
How big is it, say, compared to Anderton's?
Oh, actually, the bass section is probably bigger in GAC than it is to Anderton's. Anderton's
It's
is
a cupboard in
probably-
Anderton's. It's a cupboard.
Yeah. Anderton's is. I know I haven't been to Anderton's for a few years now. I know it's changed quite a bit. I don't know how. I would say overall, Anderton's is bigger.
Okay.
I might be wrong about that. It felt like GAC was like, oh, you go down here, then you go down here. Like there's a lot of like compartments to go down into, and I just like beelined for the bass. But yeah, there we go. Comment down below your favorite retailer and shop. Nice.
And if any of you are listening, we are sorry.
Yeah. Please invite us in. We'd love to have a look around.
For the love of God. I will say PMT. All of their places are absolutely massive because all their shops are big warehouses for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But I liked Anderton's when I went in there. It was smaller than I thought it was going to be. But then again, I'd only ever seen it on YouTube where they're in one corner of one room or they're in that warehouse filming bit, which obviously you don't see. So it was interesting.
It's a totally different house out somewhere else. That
Yeah, exactly.
the
Yeah.
recording space. I bet they get loads of people going in there saying, "Oh, can I go and see the room?" And you're like, well,
Where's Rob
it's not actually
Chapman?
here. Yeah.
He doesn't
in
live here, mate. I think he lives in
No,
Malta
doesn't
or something.
live in this
Yeah.
country anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's done the right thing and escaped.
Got out what he could.
Exactly.
Um, let us finish off the news now
Yes.
with a new bass from Fender. We have got the Fender mono neon signature bass. Now I don't really know much about mono neon before this. Um, are you familiar with their work?
No, I've never heard of this before. I've just Googled it, and in the words of Coldplay, it was all yellow.
Just like Gak's new website.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh my
it
god.
so Mono Neon is actually played with. He was one of the last bass players to play with, or the guy that plays bass, with Prince apparently, and he's renowned for his mix of funk, southern soul, and blues. You can definitely get the funk vibes from this bass. Wow, does it live up to its namesake, Mono
He's
Neon?
left-handed
But
as well.
is he?
He's left-handed, but he plays the bass upside down.
Interesting. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
very
Yeah, because
interesting. Yeah, I've
it's
just
a right-handed bass.
yeah, he's got a
Um,
really subtle fashion sense. And I mean
yeah,
this in a great way. He looks fantastic. I wouldn't be able to pull off any of this. But yeah, no, he's that signature bass. So it's a standard right-handed model, and in the promotional picture I've just pulled up, he's playing it left-handed. So he's just turned it upside down, and he's playing, the strings the wrong way around, which is quite interesting.
oh snap! Interesting. Yeah, because some
Yeah.
people will swap the string, like flip the nut around and do the string
No.
it backwards.
Nope. He
But he's
goes
doing
high
it
to
the other
low.
way.
Yeah.
Nice. So this is a 5-string jazz bass with an HH configuration. So it's kind of like that, like in the new Meteoras, really. The new,
True. Yeah.
it looks like two jazz bass pickups put together to make a humbucker, and then two of those put together. High mass looking bridge, gold hardware, this insane neon yellow finish, roasted maple neck, block inlays, and then orange pickguard and an orange matching headstock. I actually really dig the headstock. I'd like to see more like slightly darker headstocks like that. I think it's pretty cool, like compared to the body. It gives me like, when in like 70s basses when the headstock has a bit of a different tint to it, to the neck. Gives me that kind of vibe weirdly, but I think it's pretty cool overall. It looks like it's an 18-volt preamp, yeah, in the back, because it's got an all active. So you've got a bass and treble boost and cut, and then a mid-range boost and cut, sorry. Pickup selector, massive volume, and an active and passive switch, so you can have it whichever way you want, love. How much, Chris, do you think this bass is?
I'm really sorry. I've already seen the price, but I'm going to
Oh,
guess.
flipping heck.
I can't actually. I can't take a guess because, to be fair, it's priced at exactly what I thought it was going to be. If anything, with it being a signature model and it being a little bit more niche, I kind of
Yeah.
expect it to be more expensive than it is, which is
That's
quite nice
exactly
to
what
hear.
It's exactly what I was gonna say. So I'm on PMT at the minute, and I can see it's just under £1,400, which, yeah, I thought this was going to be like at least 1,800 or like going more than
Yeah,
that,
me
because
too.
the signature models seem to be a lot more expensive. But yeah, it seems pretty reasonably priced. If this is going to be somebody's dream bass. I'm sure they're like, well, I say that nobody's probably conceptualized this in their mind as their dream bass, but somebody's going to see this and be like, yes, that is
Yeah,
so cool.
I gotta say, I would. I mean, obviously, this is Mono Neon's Mono Neon's signature model. I will say his real name is Dwayne, which is even better. Uh, I like it. I like the specs. I don't like the color, but that's fine because for those of you who don't know what Mono Neon looks like, just Google him and he wears colors like this. That seems to be like
Yeah,
his brand kind of thing,
it's very on brand.
which is cool. And so as a result, the bass works great for him. I think two humbuckers on a jazz bass is ace. Active and passive switch, ace. Block inlays, great. Looks like it's got good hardware. I really do think. I bet this plays like an absolute machine. I bet it's a great bass.
Yeah,
Just don't
absolutely.
like the color, basically.
It's going to have loads of tones in there. It would be cool if they did a series of colors. I was thinking about this whilst lying in bed last night. I was like about signature guitars, and I was like, oh, what if you did like one with either different finishes, like slightly different alterations, or like one. Obviously, this like increases production costs twofold. So I know why they don't do it. But you know what a a non-relict version and a relict version. Like, oh, that could be a cool variation for people that want that and don't want that because that's so polarizing. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent from my from bedtime with Johnny. New
Bedtime with
podcast
Johnny.
coming soon.
Yes.
So that's all the news. Like I said, action packed, so much going on. I'm hoping, as we get towards the new year as well, there's going to be even more stuff coming out. So I'm very excited. Let's move on to our second question.
Question 2. All right. So, question 2. Do you have a problem with noise on your rigs? Question mark. And then the follow-up question to that is, how do you control it? Now, I think this is quite an interesting question, Johnny, because for me, any sort of noise in a rig is two things. It's either power, and this could either be the power on your pedal board or your amp, so your individual things. You've got a power supply that's not up to standard or it's broken. You've got some cabling issues. There's something wrong with your amp, etc., etc. Or it might be where you're playing. So your house, for example, could have a ground loop in it. That's quite unlikely. But what is more likely is venues, because there's so much going on in a venue in terms of stuff that could cause interference. You've got the mobile phone of every single person in the room. You've got the power in the venue. There's so many other things you could be. So I guess to answer question one, for me, no, I don't have any problems with noise in my rig, but that's because I've got the ability to turn on things like ground hum switches. I'm using a very good high quality power supply, which I always recommend you invest in. And most of the time, I'm not using an amp. But if I am using an amp, it's a decent amp. So I'm confident with that. You do get noise at venues, but the ground switch should be able to fix that. And I would say how you can control it. If it's happening everywhere you go, I think it might be a problem with some of your equipment. So maybe you want to invest in an isolated power supply first. Check your cables. Check there's not because you may have one power supply cable or one jack cable that's weirdly introducing a lot of noise because it's dirty or something like that. Or there was another point that I can't remember.
Gain.
Oh yes, gain. And in that case, you may just need to introduce a noise gate to your playing. Which, if you've only got a little bit of noise, tidy that up, no problem. That is my answer, Jonathan Dibble.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it can happen in multiple points in the chain of your signal, can't it? So it can come from the bass itself. If you get some single coils, you can get quite a lot of buzz and hum off of that, just when you're not doing anything sometimes. And that can be, fixed by, what's the words I'm looking for? Copper shielding within your guitar, which I recommend if you've got a noisy bass. It's a really, really nice thing and pretty simple to do as well. If you know how to take everything apart and put it back in. And then also your signal chain. If you've got like 200 pedals, you're going to get noise. I wonder if anyone does actually have 200 pedals. Me one day.
There's a Rob Scallion video where he does the biggest pedal board in the world, and by the end of it, there's so much noise that even with the volume off, it still sounds like he's playing. Yeah, it's really funny. I really recommend it.
Yeah. I know. I've seen the thumbnail for that. I know what you mean. That can have an impact as well. And like if you're using low quality cables in there, sometimes you can get a dodgy one, or just how you're powering it. If you're daisy chaining the whole thing, if you're getting loads of pedals through that, that's not ideal. So a nice, like you said, isolated power supply is great for that. I've had some problems with noise before. It's mostly if it's low level, able to sort it out using a noise gate or a suppressor, just to kind of cut it off at a certain threshold where you're getting a little bit of hum underneath. But really, you want to try and solve the issue, the problem, rather than just cutting it at a certain point. I'd explore it deeper before just result in thinking, I can just put a noise gate on there. But another one experience I've had, and you're so right, is with venues, because you'll go to some and the power is so dirty and it sounds awful. My rig was perfect, no noise whatsoever. Took it to, where was it? Oh yeah, it was the Cavern in Exeter. And people listening might not have heard of that venue or played it. It's like a little underground cavern, essentially, in the southwest in England, and it is a really cool venue. Loads of it's one of these venues that's pretty small, but some biggish bands play there when they do like little tours. So it's really good. But my God, was it noisy? And we were plugging into extension lead into extension lead into extension lead in there, and it was just awful. I was like, oh my God. And fun fact, we were the last band to play there because the next day it burnt down.
Was it due to a power surge, if I had to take a
Well,
guess?
I would say probably most likely yes. I didn't burn it down with my bass playing. I melt faces, not venues. So
I broke a venue this week.
oh yes, I saw on your Instagram. What happened there?
We don't know. Basically, the paneling on the roof in the stairway as you come up into the venue collapsed.
Is that the public stairway? Or is it just for
the
bands?
actual it's that sort of like standard roof paneling. It's not secured in. It's kind of like they all rest on top of one another. Yeah, you push it up and stuff.
Classic secondary school.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. And it fell apart. And I joked that it's clearly my fault because I'm the bass player, but it can't be because one, in that venue I don't go through the PA, and two, there's no way we're that loud to break a venue. But yeah, you melt faces, I break ceilings.
Nice, smashing ceilings.
Sound like a really bad Game of Thrones character, Lord Horrocks, Smasher of Ceilings.
Ceiling Smasher. That's the name of your sword.
Exactly, like some sort of civil rights musician.
Incredible.
So there we go.
Yeah, there's lots of things that noise can come from, and there's lots of different ways that you can tackle each one. But yeah, not at the minute. Don't have noise. So that's all good. All good. Shall we move on to the next bit?
Yes, we have another question, a third question.
Whoa! Oh my gosh.
So this is from someone I know called Christian, and he asked me, what is better feel-wise, a 5-string or a 4-string tuned to BEAD, brackets, 4 metal, even lower, and then he's given me the tuning of GDGC, which is drop G for all you non-gent heads out there. So essentially what the question is kind of what do you think feels better, a 5-string or a 4-string tuned to BEAD? Now, would you like to go first? Because I have an answer for this, all done and dusted, but I would like you to go first.
Sure thing. Yeah, so for me, I've been in this camp. I have strung a 4-string BEAD before, because I, at the time, couldn't afford to buy a 5-string, didn't want to fork out the money to get another bass when I had this one bass. So I was like, oh, it'll be fine. And I think there's a key part of this question as well, which is about going even lower, because one thing that is going to give out, or that you're going to have to mod with this, which is kind of irreversible, unless you buy a separate piece to attach, is the nut. If you're getting thicker and thicker and thicker with these strings, the 4-string nut isn't built to house, that's the word I'm looking for. It's not built to house that like 130, 135 gauge B string that's in there. So you're more likely to get it popping out of there, especially if you're playing metal. If you're playing hard, that is going to be popping. I've had that before. It going bung, like coming out, and you're like, oh, bloody hell, pop it back in. And that is not something that you want at all to be happening. Of course, you can have a 4 string with the 5 strings on there, but for me, I would be looking to mod the nut to house that. One thing that's nice in some 5 strings as well is extended scales. I really like 35 scales for 5 strings instead of your standard 34-inch scale. It just makes that B string a little bit tighter. And if you're going lower, again, that's even better. So yeah, I'd say you can, but I would be looking to mod the nut to house it a bit better rather than it kind of making do. It's not built for it at the end of the day, so it's not going to be ideal. So ideally, I would rather have a 5 string, but I do get the 4 string thing because it just feels more at home in your hands. What say you, Christopher?
I think if both are set up correctly, so if you're tuning a 4 string down to BEAD and you've had it set up with the correct notes and everything like that, it's basically the difference is purely for feel. I would go for a 4 tuned to a 5, only because we're talking about metal, and realistically, are you really going to use that higher string? You might do. I'm not saying you won't, but any metal I've ever had to play when I've been a bass player, I've been told off for going above the 7th fret.
Yeah,
So let alone anything else. So you're dealing
yeah,
with the lower register side of the instrument. Again, if you've got the option between a 4 string tuned to BEAD, and a 5 string, but the neck on the 5 string is a little bit longer, like a 35, or even more so, perhaps it's a multi-scaled instrument, I would go for the 5 because it is going to sound better with that extended range. You're going to get a bit more stability. The note is going to sound a bit more clearer. There's a bit more definition. But if they're both 34, the only difference is there's an extra string on the top. I prefer the feel of a 4 string bass tune that way, just because I mean I've not exactly got big hands. I've got fairly normal size hands. I'm not going to use the string, so I'm not really bothered. And I just think 4 strings look a little bit cooler. So I would just go 4. But if you're going down to G, um, and it's G and you need to take it seriously, as in you really need it to sound good, I would strongly consider looking at an extended range instrument. Now it doesn't have to be a Dingwall. In my experience, that's the best one I've tried. But things like the Ibanez EHBs, they're going down to like a 35.5, if I remember correctly. Your Dingwalls range from, well, the big one being the NG2, which is a 37.5, that will sound incredible down in G. That's kind of like what all those kind of like genty bands are using these days, just because it works. But
yeah,
yeah, if you're going lower than an A in particular, you need to look at something that's got a slightly more extended range to give you more notes and more definition. The reason being is your fundamental note when you go that low is down in the 20s and 30 hertz, which is not something you are going to hear because it's approaching down at the bottom of the human range of hearing. And in any venue and any recording, that's going to be scooped away because it just again, if you're not a big audio engineer, essentially kind of anything below 60 hertz is kind of gone when you're recording or playing live on bass. Or 60 for me, just because there's too much rumble, it's interfering with the kick drum. You're just going to make the room rattle in a way you probably don't want it to. And someone's just going to go, oh, that bass is too loud. And they're just going to turn you
yeah,
down. They're not going to do an EQ move. They're just going to turn you down. So
yeah,
when you're going that low, that's why so many heavy bands these days that are tuned low, the bass is super distorted. And it's not distorted because it's cool. I mean, it is cool, obviously. More is more. But it's distorted to give the bass more harmonics above the fundamental, because essentially the fundamental isn't there. So that's me.
yeah,
I would go 4 string, but if you're going down to G, you just need the best instrument that's going to work down that low. You need something that's either maybe 35, 36, 37. That's what's
yeah.
going to make the difference for you, not necessarily the number of strings.
I have exactly, and it's so true what you say about, particularly for metal, you're not gonna. It's unlikely, really, unless you're doing some like prog rock something, or like math, that you're going to be using that G string at all. Um,
Yeah, that
so
higher register.
why?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So why? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. The not the low one. The high one. On a regular tuning, you're not going to be using that string. So you're better off not having it. Kind of, if you prefer the feel of a four string. And now that got me thinking. Then I was like, well, what manufacturers are focusing on that market, making four strings that are able to handle the five string thing, just getting rid of the high G instead of just adding a
There's
B
not a
on.
lot.
No, it's Dingwall.
Well,
So
actually, uh, the four-string version of the NG models doesn't go down to a 37. I think it's a 36 and a bit.
that's right,
Um, exactly. So
which is
even them,
still
yeah.
improvement
Oh,
because
it's massive. It's massive. When I was playing an NG2 recently, the E string, which is not a 34-inch at this point, it's a 36.2, maybe something like that. That sounded amazing. Like, there was just so
yeah,
much clarity, like
yeah,
so
and
much
that's it's.
presence.
I imagine it's probably the same as their standard four string versions, like the D Rock as well. Is their
Correct. Yeah.
36.25 scale on the low E and then
Yeah.
34 on the G. So you're still kind of getting that extended range benefit, but not having the big chunky five string neck that you're actually not even utilizing. So yeah, that might be an alternative as well, as looking at what four strings you can get that are designed to be in that genre, which is cool. I kind of want a D Rock, not gonna lie, they're pretty cool.
I do like the D Rock. I like the Tobacco Burst D
Yeah,
Rock a
that's the one
lot.
I
Yeah.
nearly bought. I nearly bought it because they're like 1,260, which isn't insane for what it is. But yeah, I nearly borrowed one as well, but then it escaped me, bastards. Anyway, yeah,
Son of a gun.
son of a gun. I think we've answered that pretty well. I think. Good job. Nice little bonus question in there. I like it. Let's move on to the next segment. This is the next segment. It is called That Tone You Own. So each week we bring along a tone to listen to, break it down, talk about what we like, what we don't like, what's it built up of, etc. This time I have brought along a tone for a new bass I have. I originally, because I've got two new basses, Chris, two new basses. I originally recorded my Squire Jaguar bass that I've now got. Just that I picked up secondhand, old vintage modified one, thought it was cool. Nice. I've now got an even newer Squire bass, which is the Squire Mustang that I spoke about earlier. And so I re-recorded it before this podcast because I was like, this has got some fresh strings on it. It's hot out the box. Let's see what this thing can do. So what you're about to hear now is my Squire Classic Vibe Mustang bass. These retail for around £340, I think it is at the moment. This is the orange one with the red racing stripe. You can really hear that orange zingy tone coming through. Zesty, we'll call it a zesty tone. Yeah, let's take a listen to it now.
Do-ba-do-ba-do-ba-do-do-do.
Sounds a bit like Baymax. Nice. So there it is. Would you say it was zesty, Chris?
Yeah, that racing stripe really brought out the upper mids to me.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
felt
Yes.
that there in the pick attack. That's a great
Super
bass.
speedy.
It sounds well. It sounds so good. I know the new strings probably speak to it quite a lot as well, but I just think just sounds really usable. But that's how, I know this sounds like it sounds boring, but the problem you have is when you play a musical instrument for a living, all of a sudden everything is like a what tool in the toolbox is this kind of thing. Where
Yeah.
can I? And I just feel that would just work really well in pretty much everything I need to do. It's got a nice
Yeah.
amount of
Which
low
is
end. Yeah, it's great. There's not too much mid range. I really enjoyed, especially in the first clip, the pick attack that was coming through was really good. Not too much, but just sounded great. And then when you put the drive on, that increase in mid range presence, it just sounded like a sensible P bass, if that makes sense. Still getting loads of mid
yes.
range punch. I can see that punching through in a mix in a really nice way that's still supportive. But yeah, just really boisterous. What was that? What was the pedal you put on at the end?
So I'll talk. Yeah, I'll talk about the signal chain here. The pedal that I put on the end was actually the Dark Glass Alpha Omega. So it's kind of this, for those that know the Alpha Omega, it's like a fuzzy distortion sound, which has become such a staple of their sound now. I think the Alpha Omega. Do you reckon the Alpha Omega is probably one of their most popular pedals?
Oh, it's
It's
got to
it
be.
it's
The most
exploded, I think.
popular, yeah, the most popular thing has probably got to be the B7K. Oh
Yeah,
no,
that's normally like their flagship
no,
sound.
actually, I see the X7 in the wild more wherever I go.
Really? Oh,
Yeah, I'll tell you
interesting.
what, there's a lot of musical theatre guys using the X7.
Really?
Yeah, a lot,
Wow, that
a
surprises
lot of
me.
wedding
I've
guys.
had that pedal and it was like really good, but it was like, here's the dark glass sound, whoa, in your
Yeah,
face.
absolutely. I mean, a lot of the people I know, they're using it as like a kind of oomph pedal. Like they're using it where, if anything, the distortion is kind of low. It's not too
Mm,
aggressive, but they're using it mainly to pin the low end and
yeah,
getting it very punchy.
and
I mean, that's what I do. Yeah,
that's exactly how the Alpha Omega is being used in that clip. It's not the drive is like really low, with the
yeah.
blend actually pretty low as well. So it's giving a subtle boost and
Mm.
making it all just a bit more saturated sounding, a bit fuller. So I can totally get that. And yeah, I think this bass, there's been a lot of people talking about the quality control issues of this bass. Of course, I got this direct from Fender. They weren't going to give me a dud
Could you
because of all
imagine?
the issues I'd had before. Yeah, oh, here you go.
Here
It
you
sucks,
go. Don't turn it
but
over. Nothing to
it
see here.
literally, they didn't do anything to it. They just checked it was okay because it literally arrived whilst I was there. It
Yeah.
arrived in the UPS van whilst I was there, so they unboxed it and gave it to me there. So nothing was done to it. That tone that we heard, all of the clips, the tone is actually rolled off, not completely, about 75-80%, I think it is. The pots aren't the highest quality, so it's really that you're making small changes and you're getting a big difference when you're getting towards like beyond
Yeah.
75%. So it's hard to tell where it currently is, but it's around there. And that's where I kind of like a Mustang bass. I don't want it to be too zingy. It's a short scale. I want it to be mellow, and it really suits like palm muting as well. But then it means it really saturates distortion, overdrive, and fuzz as well. We heard a big muff in there, at the Alpha Omega. It really suits that sound, I think. I will just say what my settings were on the Line 6 HX Stomp. It was
Oh
the
yeah, I actually
wood.
wanted to ask. So what is the actual signal chain? So you go bass, then what do you do?
So it is going into a very light bit of compression, which is, sorry, hang on, I'm bending down, is
And
the
this is
deluxe comp.
right. Okay, so this is not in the HX Stomp. This is that pedal. Okay.
No, this is in the HX Stomp.
Oh, okay, right.
This
So
is
we're going bass. HX Stomp.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
So we've got the...
What about when the Alpha Omega comes in?
Sorry, my bad. Yes, it's going... Just forgot the complete fundamentals of the
Premier
tone.
Guitar are not going to call you for a rig rundown.
No, absolutely not. Fuck. It goes into the Alpha Omega, then into the HX Stomp.
Oh, okay,
That's
cool. Okay,
the only
sorry.
things being used. There's other stuff in the chain that's off, but that's just because it's on my pedal board.
Right. Okay.
So we're going Alpha Omega, then into, we've got a compressor on here. This isn't really built because, like I said previously, I'd normally put my compressors before, so this isn't really built for that. But it's just on. That's what it is. Tiny bit of compression on there. Then going into the Woody Blue amp head. I don't know what that's actually based on.
Are you going to Google it? Am I?
You Google it whilst I talk.
Cool.
So it's going into that, and then into the... Oh gosh, I'm gonna change my settings. It's going into the Ampeg 8x10 SVT. So a lot of like the warmth is coming from that amp sim. It's really nice actually, and it really suits this style of bass for the short scale. I think it's really cool. And yeah, it's just super warm. It's short scales are a bit more of like a tubbier sound, and I think it suits that. There's certainly no loss of tone though. I'm really impressed with this, and I'm really enjoying this patch that I've built here to just go with it. And it was one that I just had saved previously that I just tweaked ever so slightly to suit this bass, and yeah, really enjoying it. That was literally half an hour before recording this podcast of just like, right, what can we get out of this? And a bastardized version of This Is Why by Paramore at the start. So yeah, lovely. Big fan. Have you found out what the Woody Blue is based on?
Yeah, the Woody Blue is based on the acoustic 360, which is I was just looking at kind of players who've used it before. It's quite a vintage amp. Where's it gone? A picture of it. It looks like a really cool like rack unit. It was used by thin, yeah, they've been used by Larry Graham, Jacko, John Paul Jones used one on a few different
Johnny Dibble.
Yeah, Johnny Dibble. Has it got like a load of position switches?
Oh, good question.
On there. And like a cut and a boost, yeah.
It's got a variamp control, which is just set at 3 at the minute.
So you've got it at 3 is 300 hertz. I'm assuming it's a variable sort of like mid control. Can you control what that variamp control does, or is it just you pick the position and that's it?
I've got a position, then I've also got an effect one, which I can't remember what it does.
Oh, okay.
This is a really good review of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, just as information, that's what it's doing. I'm just looking at the acoustic amp now. I knew what they were, but I can't remember what the front panel controls are like.
Well, famously, Jaco Pastorius saved up all his money to buy one. Legend has it, he slept on the beach while his other bandmates, while on tour, slept in hotel rooms, so he could eventually save up and buy one, and he used it quite famously on a lot of his fretless work.
Wow! Oh, Jaco.
Yeah. Oh. Glad to know he's not the only starving professional musician going on these days.
Yeah, it kind of gives you hope, doesn't it? Wow.
Yeah, I haven't had to sleep on a beach yet, which is nice.
It's coming, Chris. That's when you know you've made it. When
Give it time.
I'm this broke. Good things must be coming.
I am Jaco.
But yeah, there we go. That is the Squier Classic Vibe Mustang. You'll be hearing more of this bass on my channel, no doubt. I'm going to do a review on this thing because it's, I'm pretty impressed, and pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. Let's us move on to our last segment. This is the last segment. It is called the Big Bass Debate. This time, normally I take a question and turn this into a big bass debate. But this time, put a question elsewhere, and I thought I'd select something that I just saw. I was going to bring it up in the news, but I thought actually this is probably worth talking about as a kind of as we near the close of 2022. Can you believe that? First of all, 2022 is nearing an end. We're in November now. That's wild to me.
It's absolutely disgusting. Like, it actually ruins my... Well, it doesn't ruin my day. Just, it's crazy. I mean, I don't know what your year's been like, and we can definitely do an end of the year episode if you want. But my year's been crazy. Like, so much has happened to me this year, and it feels like...
Yeah.
I feel like this year should have been 3 years, but it's all just kind of crammed into, like, May to now. It's like nothing
Yeah.
happened
Well, you've
from
had your
January to
whole
May.
You've had your whole transition. Sorry, that's a no. You've not transitioned. You've gone from you have gone from regular employment into full-time musicianship. You know.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
and that's huge.
And if I had to say one thing about it, I kind of just want to take a moment to slag off the British educational system as a whole, because I've had to teach myself everything about self-employment, an incredibly small amount of information about accountancy. I've barely scratched the surface. Being an accountant is really hard. It's really complicated. I've watched so many webinars on like beginner's guides to self-employment from an accountancy perspective, and I don't understand it.
It's mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is mind-blowing. Because like you say, and everything becomes out of date. Everything on the Gov website is super confusing.
Changes all the time.
Yeah. Oh, you need this form. Oh, now you need this form. You need to do this. Oh, what? Yeah, it's crazy.
It reminds me of. Have you seen the film The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yeah.
Where they go to get Trillian released when she's been captured by the Vogons, and they're like, we'd like to have this prisoner released, and they're like, prisoner release form, and then they go back and they come back and go, listen, he's the president. Can you just let her out? And they go, oh, he's the president. Well, you'll need a presidential release form. Those are blue. It's like it feels like that. But yes, anyway, we digress heavily. But yes, 2022 has been a crazy year. Now, talk to me about this list, because on your instructions, I have not looked at it.
Yes, a very good boy. Did not look at it. I just wanted to be like a bit of a surprise, can react to the list. And there's some in there that are surprising, some in there not surprising at all. So this is from Reverb.com. The retailers were doing secondhand stuff. I'm sure you'll know what Reverb is. I'm just going to fire through this list, and then do you want to talk about them one at a time, or just talk about it at the end?
We'll do one at a time, but we don't need to dive into it too much.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good idea. Okay, so at 20, we have the Squier Classic Vibe 50s precision bass. So yeah,
not surprised.
Non-split coil, not surprised at all. I think it's a pretty fair place. A lot of people want that sound and that sting bass, so they go for that one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, job's
number 19.
Done. Yeah.
Number 19, Fender Player Mustang bass, PJ. So not the Squier that we've just heard, the Fender Player version with the PJ configuration. Yeah, hugely popular. Doesn't surprise me at all. The one I had, I didn't like, but who knows? Why didn't I like it?
Yeah,
the quality control was just crap on it. I thought the one I had, the fret job on the Squier one was way better than the one that I had. The frets were pointy. The toggle switch to go between the pickups was really like naff and loose, and I just didn't like the sound of it very much, to be honest. So yeah.
Oh dear.
It's a shame, because it was a walnut one. Oh my god, it was a walnut one, and I modded it to have a cream pickup and cover and black pickguard. Maybe Squier stole my idea for the.
I mean, at this stage, I wouldn't be surprised.
I want the royalties for that.
Exactly. PP.
Anyway, yeah. Casa Pepe. Squire signature coming soon. Yeah, I'm not surprised about his position on this list though. Next up, 18, we have the Squire Classic Vibe 60s Precision Bass. We're going to start seeing a trend here. There's going to be a lot of Squires on here. I'm not
There's a
surprised
reason
about
why
that,
P
though.
basses are super popular. That's all we need to say. Next.
Yeah. Very similarly, Squire Classic Vibe 60s Jazz Bass. The
Yeah,
Jazz Bass
again.
creeping,
Yeah.
creeping above the P bass there.
It is.
Number
Some would say it is
16.
better,
Ooh, some would.
but not
Topic for
us.
another day. Number 16, Squire Classic Vibe 70s Precision. So interesting, the 70s is 2 spots ahead of the 60s. Personally, I prefer the 60s one just because, I don't know, I feel like it's a bit, from sound comparisons, it's a bit like warmer sounding, and that's what I kind of prefer to go for over a more trebly sounding bass. I'd rather it had the warm fundamentals and then I can add treble rather than trying to add this warmth.
Yeah, makes sense.
But again, in a live and mix situation, probably making absolutely no difference at all. But it's probably more of an aesthetic thing because it has got the block inlays on that on the 70s one. So pretty good. Number 15, Fender Standard Jazz Bass / American Professional 2 Jazz Bass / Squire Classic Vibe 70s Jazz Bass. So these all sold seemingly all absolutely the same. So when they say Fender Standard Jazz Bass, I'm assuming that this means
American Standard?
Well, I don't know. You'd think so, but it just says Fender Standard Jazz Bass / American Professional 2 Jazz Bass. Now, the American Professional 2, I said I tried yesterday, and that was my favourite that I played. So I've this expensive guitar though. It's like 1,800 quid, I think, or 1,700. So interesting that that sold just as much as the Squire Classic Vibe 70s. That does surprise me. I thought these Squires would be much higher up the list, honestly, but we'll see what else has taken their place. Any thoughts about those three? Any more you want to say?
No, not really. Standard decisions, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all very safe at the minute, isn't it?
I can see exactly why. It's like these are the Vauxhall Corsas and the Ford Focuses of the bass world.
Yeah, absolutely. Common as muck. So
Exactly.
number 14 is the Fender. Oh, is a Fender Precision Bass, which is interesting. So this is a 1970 to 1983 models. Of course, what I've completely forgotten to mention is this isn't new necessarily. This is just from Reverb, which is both new and used gear that's sold on there. So I completely forgot that. Yeah, the ones that are going to be taken into account here is that there's some vintage stuff on here as well. So the interesting number 14. Oh, that's weird. My phone just came up with a notification saying I'm on 14% battery as I read 14. What? That's a sign that I need a
Illuminati
1970
confirmed.
P bass.
Yeah, you have to buy it now. Sorry, I don't make the rules.
Oh no, thank you, world. Yeah, I'm not surprised. You know, that's pretty well sought after bass for that era. I wonder if we're going to see a 60s P bass on here. Is that going to be high up? But then again, is that going to be the most highest selling because it's so expensive and there's limited of them around? So interesting that that's come up on here. Oh, that makes me think that the Fender Standard Jazz Bass is probably the Mexican one when they used to just be called the Standard Jazz.
Potentially, yes.
Instead of that. But interesting, they didn't put a year on that. Anyway, number 13 is the Hofner Ignition Pro Violin Bass. That's just Beatles fans snapping them up, I'm sure.
Probably. There are a lot of them.
There are a lot. Yeah, that's why they're so big. Number 12, the Ibanez SR300E Soundgear Standard. Now, I ain't got a clue what this is. I've got an image in my head of what I think it might be, but
Which one is it? Sorry, which one was this again? S what?
it is the SR300E.
SR300E. Which one's this? I know this one. Oh yeah, so this is the double humbucker one that you can get in kind of like blue and pink.
Yeah.
It's about £300. It's kind of like the, you're kind of starting out, or you want something that isn't, you want your first, like, you want a decent bass, don't want to pay a lot of
Yeah.
money, but you don't want a Jazz or a P. You want something with a bit more chutzpah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the first like non-vintage style bass we've seen on this
Yeah,
list
it
so
really is
far.
actually.
It's
Yes.
at number 12.
Yeah, not bad.
Speaking of modern basses, oh no, wait, no, we've got another jazz bass. It
Oh,
is the
great.
Squire Affinity jazz bass at spot 11. So yeah, not,
Cool.
not,
Next.
no surprises really so far. Yeah, we'll go.
Yeah.
Number 10, Ibanez, back at it again with the GSR M20 Geo Micro. So this is their PJ configuration short scale, I think, the Micro, if I remember correctly. I think they only do it in like a handful of colors. Yeah, we're starting to see that short scale hype appear on this list. We have already had a Mustang though, but interesting that this one sold higher than the Mustang. That does kind of surprise me. I would have thought the Fender Mustang would be way further up compared to a bass like that. Again, maybe it's down to price because these, I think they're pretty affordable, these Ibanez's. So interesting stuff. Okay, that was number 10. So now we're technically in the top 10. So
Ooh.
spoiler alert, there's still a lot of Fender and Squire to go.
Oh God.
I know. Come on, give us something else. We got a couple of little bits in here. Okay, number 9 is Fender Player Jazz Bass / JB62 Jazz Bass. So two completely opposite ends of the scale in terms of price. If I remember correctly, the JB62 is like mega expensive vintage 62, I've just typed in JB62 and it's come up with a car. That's not right.
Correct.
Fender Jazz. It's going to have, yeah, that is mega bucks, isn't it? So interesting that those two are in the same position. So people obviously still absolutely loving that vintage vibe, and that's what they're going for. I tried a custom shop. I might have said this earlier, like a 62 issue one yesterday, and it was very nice, but it had like pickup covers and a bridge cover, and that is not my vibe, unfortunately. Just because my playing style does not agree with that. I can't use a pick really. I can't. My finger positioning is all a bit off with that. I don't know. It didn't really work for me. Lovely, but not for me. Interesting. And going down the complete opposite end of the scale, Squire Affinity Bronco bass at number 8.
Not a bad shout. Cool.
No, that is their like super entry levels, like meant to be like the beginner's bass. Yeah, not surprised it's so high up. It's interesting because is the Bronco bass still in production?
I can only assume so.
Yeah, I think I have remember seeing it on their website actually. Yeah, I'm not surprised that's high up. Anything super affordable and that people enjoy is going to obviously sell really well and resell well. These probably go for less than £100 on Reverb, I would have thought. So yeah, I'm not surprised that this one is so high up. Have you played a Bronco?
No, I have not played a Bronco actually. There are actually quite a lot of basses I've not played. And funnily enough, all the ones I've played have ended up owning, which is quite funny. So maybe it's a really good idea. I haven't tried any of these basses.
Yeah. Let's try them all and buy them all and completely upset this list completely.
Correct, exactly. Just destroy the entire bass market because one man from the northwest of England bought everything.
Hey, one man from the north is like 100 men from the south, right?
Absolutely. 3 of us can take over a country.
I just put myself
or blow
down
up his
there.
house.
Well, you're going to need some of that strength and wallet money for this next one because number 7 is
It's a Fender
the Fender.
Jazz.
No,
It's
guess
a Fender
again.
P.
Oh my god! How did you know? It's the American Professional 2 P bass. Super nice, super cool. I can kind of see why these expensive ones are being up high up on the list if it's on Reverb, because often if I was going to buy an expensive bass or one, any American bass, it's very unlikely that I'm going to fork out the money to buy it new. So I'm
Yeah, me
probably going to
too.
be looking
Yeah.
second hand. And when you start getting above like 1,500 quid, you're going to probably lean towards using a reputable used site like Reverb, where you get more reputable people on there selling. Basically, not Facebook, where it's
Yeah,
like
correct. Yeah.
Dawn down the road selling her husband's P bass. Uh, I say that is a quote exactly from an experience I had where the person was like, "Yeah, don't know what this is, don't care." Like they'd clearly gone through something. She was like, "Yeah, just selling his guitar," and it was like a 70s jazz bass,
Yeah, there's either
and it was
been
going,
a nasty divorce or he's dead.
yeah, and I was like, "Oh my god, that isn't." It was like
Okay.
It was £500, and I was like, "Excuse me, what?" I inquired, but sadly it disappeared pretty quick.
Mm.
But yeah, it's I would be looking to go on somewhere like Reverb, or even eBay's got good protection as well. But Reverb's probably your best bet for buying expensive used gear. So that doesn't surprise me that something that expensive is coming up here. And the same thing can be said for one in a minute on the list. But first, at number 6 is the Sterling Stingray Ray 4. So
Oh, thank God.
oh, something that isn't from the Fender family, although, well, I mean, I guess it kind of technically is, but isn't at the same time. It's a Stingray, baby. Yeah, the only, spoiler alert, the only Stingray on this list is the
Oh,
Ray 4. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
disgraceful.
I know. Yeah, the Ray 4, they sell like hotcakes. They're everywhere, these basses, so it doesn't really surprise me that much. Now, top 5. Have
Here
you
we
got any
go.
predictions of what might be on this top 5? Any big hitters that you think we haven't seen yet, or any really popular ones?
I mean, if I was a betting man, I'd say it'd be some sort of jazz or P bass. Um, we've had no Spectres or anything like that yet.
No.
There's no other Stingrays, which is quite surprising. Ooh, what else? What else? Hmm. We had a
Well,
Hofner.
we did.
I don't know.
Well, number 5, you might
Go
kick
on.
yourself a bit.
Go on.
Number 5,
Dingwall in
Rickenbacker.
G2. Oh, no.
So close, so similar.
Rickenbacker, yeah,
Rickenbacker,
of course, of course.
4003. It's not a surprise. These are highly sought after. When one pops up, they normally sell pretty darn quick. Obviously, price dependent, but again, Reverb is a brilliant place to find a bass like that for used, because you're going to be spending probably at least £2,000, I would have thought. Although I don't know what their price is like nowadays. Actually, I'm kind of off of the Rickenbacker market.
Yeah, I've never tried one ever.
No, I haven't either. And I used to just be like totally like, hate them, don't think they look nice at all. But now actually I think they look pretty cool.
Oh
But
no,
the sound,
I think they look really cool. Like I'm quite a fan of Motorhead as well for obvious
yeah,
reasons. Yeah, Rickenbackers are cool. I don't again. I can't buy anything these days unless it's a specific, you know, almost like is this going to make me any money? Like a kind of what paid gig am I really missing because I don't have this? And the
yeah,
Rickenbacker has never ticked any of those boxes for me ever, which
no.
is why I've never
Well,
really bothered.
it's not. It's both a specific sound and a non-specific sound at the same time. Because like Rickenbacker, now this is this is kind of controversial. I don't really love the sound of them. I've never really heard one that I've gone, oh yeah, that's the one. They're quite, in my opinion, quite thin sounding or quite trebly. And being a rock guy, and Bully the Kid was shocked on here when he was like, "But you're a rock guy. Like, why don't you like this?" I was like, "Well, I don't know. Just it doesn't." I've never heard one and gone like, "For flipping heck, yeah, that's what I need." And you're right. It doesn't fill any hole in your arsenal. In
True.
your
It doesn't
in
fill a hole in my arse and all.
yeah, exactly.
Correct.
So you're fine. So no need for Rickenbackers. Okay, but there you go. Top five's made it. Number five. Okay, number four. Squire
Oh,
Affinity Precision Bass. So PJ bass.
you you
What can I say?
throw back to earlier on in the episode, you almost. Sorry, I need to just stop laughing before I can tell you this. You almost said that to me in the style of the a Negroni, Spaglione,
Aliato with
a
Prosecco.
Squire, precision bass with a PJ.
Well, all right.
Ooh,
Let's reenact
stunning.
it then. You can do the bits in between.
Okay, what's your bass play? What's your bass of choice?
A Squire
Oh, I was going to say the same thing.
Affinity
Oh,
Precision Bass.
oh, stunning.
Let's make that go
That's got to be the
viral
clip.
on
That's
TikTok.
got to be the clip at the start of the episode.
Yes. Nice
Brilliant.
cold open.
Exactly. Get on that hype
Nice.
train.
Nice. Love that. Okay, so top three now. Top three.
Okay,
That was
here
number
we go.
four. I don't really have anything to say about Squire Affinity being there. Doesn't surprise me.
It's fine. It's a great bass.
Fine. Yeah. I imagine if this took into account like Facebook sales as well, the Affinity would be like poof, like right
Everything
at the top.
would
I
just
imagine.
it would just all be Squire classic vibe jazz basses.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's never and that's the thing to say about Squire is that they're incredibly resellable. Like the value stays there now, which is why they're just climbing and climbing.
Actually, I've just realised there's been no Sire on this list, which I am
that is
quite
a very
'cause
good
they are
point.
maybe it's because no one's reselling them
Yeah,
because they are very good.
well. They are very good. There's good and bad things to say about this. So they are. That is true. People keep them, don't sell them. Maybe that's why they're not picking up on here, or are they just not very resellable?
Maybe.
I see quite a lot of sires for sale on Facebook, and sometimes they don't sell that quickly. I had mine sell quickly because I sold my P5 and D5. Shocker, I know. And they sold quickly because they were fairly new products at the time. They don't really come up that often. But then that's because people are keeping them. So I would love to know, but I reckon it is because people are keeping them, to be fair.
I think it's that, and also they would be a bit difficult to sell because they're not a household name yet. They
Yeah.
will be. They will be very soon. But at the moment, a lot of people, if you go Fender, Squire, everyone's going to go,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
The
But if you
resale
go
value is...
Sire, yeah.
Yeah,
But
and that's how often...
it could mean if you keep your eyes open, you can probably snag one at a really good deal because someone either doesn't know what they're selling or, they've put it up for sale at 400 quid, no one's bought it. 3 months later, they've put it on for 250 and you go, oh, yeah, I'll get that.
So I had that exact thing happen with a Schecter jazz bass that I got a couple of years ago now, and it just was not selling, and it went down, and I could see it had been on there for weeks, and no one was biting, and I was like, "Are you joking? This bass is brilliant. I know this is going to be really good," but because of the brand, and people just were like,
It's probably because
and
people maybe look at Schecter and go, but I don't listen to Avenged Sevenfold, so I'm not going to get one.
Exactly, and I think I bought it for less than 200 quid in the end, and
That's
that
a
was
good
because
deal.
I slid a low offer in, because I'd seen it had been up there for weeks and reduced in price, and I was like, "Will you take this?" Hoping they'd be like, "Yeah, I just want to get rid of it," and they did, and I was like, "Great." And that's often what will determine what's on the channel, what I buy as well, because I don't want to buy something that's just not going to sell afterwards because I have to sell to buy new things. I can't just, I don't have unlimited space. So often, sometimes I'll see something that's cool, but I'm like, well, nobody is going to rebuy this. Really, even though I'm sat here going, I might buy this, but my circumstances are a bit unique. So I that comes into my mind as well. So a lot of the things that might not appear on this list might be because of that as well. Who knows? Top three now.
Here we go.
This is interesting because we have two short scales joint here.
Oh my God, some guitarists have entered the chat.
Yeah, right. That's slow. Well, even
Including
more
you.
so in a minute. Even more so in a minute. So interesting. At number 19, we had the Fender Player Mustang bass, but at number 3, we've got the Fender Offset Series Mustang bass.
What's that?
I don't know. It just sounds like a Mustang. I'm going to give it a googs now just to see if that is some kind of one that they've done previously. Offset Series Mustang bass. Oh no, Mustang PJ. It's a PJ bass. I know that much. What if this is a specific year? Yeah, see, Google isn't enjoying that. It's just coming up with the player one. Interesting. I want to know what this is because it's clearly something different. Yep. Oh well, there we go. We know kind of what it is. If it's not the player, I'm guessing it's a slightly more vintage version, but interesting. But it is actually joint third with one that does not surprise me at all, and it's another short scale. I'm going to give you another lifeline here, Chris. What short scale is super popular and super affordable, and it's a brand that we haven't seen on this list yet.
It's the Gretsch one.
It's the Gretsch one.
Yep.
The Gretsch Junior Jet 2 is the third highest selling bass on Reverb, which doesn't surprise me. The quality is super high. Mike Kerr basically, Gretsch owe him a lot of money. Well, I'm sure they paid him a lot of money.
But they should probably pay him even more.
Yes, exactly. Insanely popular guitar, and yeah, it's worth it. It's earned its spot here because I think it offers something totally different. It's a Les Paul style double humbucker. Well, not humbucker actually, 2 single coils, but look like humbuckers. In short scale Les Paul style bass. It's something totally different to all of these, and it's kind of in its own lane, and it's a different sound to the other Mustangs and short scales that you get in the Bronco. So yeah, I think it's great, and no surprise because they're super popular and highly regarded. So yeah, really cool. Number 2 is, no surprise, Fender Player P bass. So this is, if you want a P bass and you're out there, you want a Fender, most people are probably going to be getting the Player. And these things hold their value pretty well, I'd say. So it doesn't surprise me that people are going to Reverb and buying these things.
It's just the obvious choice, isn't it? It's the Warburton's white bread. You know exactly what you're getting. There's nothing wrong with it. You're not going to change the world, but it's going to get the job done.
It's like the standard entry-level P bass that isn't a Squier. It's the cheapest Fender P bass you can get.
Absolutely, it's the Ford Mondeo.
There we go. It's arguably bland, but people love it, and it just works.
Yeah, it does the job. There's a reason why pretty much everyone's got one.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Number one.
Number 1. Now, this is a shocker to me. And it just speaks volumes for like where we are right now and trends, things like that, because it's totally different to all of the other basses on this list. Not in brand, but in what it is. And this type
Can I have some clues?
Guitar, yes, this type of guitar has come up already in today's discussions.
Okay.
Beatles lovers will also are in full force with this one.
So is it another Hofner?
No.
But Beatles lovers. What else did Paul McCartney play? Did Paul McCartney play Rickenbacker?
I think he did.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm pretty sure he did, but no.
Can I have another clue? Because I don't really don't listen to the Beatles very often.
No, 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 me neither. What was I going to say?
It's a Dingwall
Oh yes,
NG2.
yeah, Paul McCartney's signature. Um,
Stunning.
yeah. No, so guitar players also might have had an impact on this.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, guitar players might have had an input on this.
Okay, I'll give you a
It's a
clue, and
Dingwall NG2.
you'll get it straight away from this clue.
Okay,
Ready?
okay, go on.
It's called a no. It is now available in purple.
It's a bass 6.
Yeah, the Squire Classic
Oh,
Vibe Bass
no.
6.
Right, well,
That is
thanks
the
very
top.
much. See you next week, Johnny. Bye.
That is the top selling bass on Reverb for 2022.
Two
Now
things. Two things. I'm going to start with the whinging one first. It's not a bass. There's that. You can't see me, in fact, Johnny, I'm going to put the camera on for 2 seconds so you can see my reaction. It's not a
I'm
bass.
expecting head in hands. Head in hands. There we go.
It's not a bass. But I will say I did try one a few weeks ago. The lovely Matt Parker brought one up to a meetup I did. With an NG2, he brought that. He brought one of those, not Alpha, the baby brand. Is it called Feral? It's called Feral, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, brought one of those. That was really cool. And when he brought it, I thought, nah, this is hype. Not buying this for 1 second. And then plugged it in, and sounds amazing. Sounds really cool. You can make it sound like a weird baritone guitar, but then if you flick onto the neck and roll the tone off, sounds like a P bass with flats. They're amazing.
Yeah.
I hate to admit it. This is the fall of a generation. Bloody kids these days ruin everything. They are quite cool. I will concede that point.
Yeah, they are cool, and that's what people are slowly getting onto, and they are a bit of a trend as well that's coming back in. I know they were used in the 60s and stuff, and 60s, is that right? Yeah, and it's nothing new, but people are slowly getting back into them again. And actually, the article on here, on the one that I'm reading from, which one is it? It's from No Treble. Actually, talks about why this one might have been at the top, and they reference the Beatles in there, saying that what was it called? The like remastered Peter Jackson documentary.
Get Back.
That's it. Came out earlier this year. The bass was spotted in there, and so they're saying like, oh, maybe this has had a big impact on it as well, and the surge of popularity with them. I don't know if I buy that so much, but they were famous for playing them, and so yeah, pretty cool. People are going for also bands like Loathe. Have used bass 6s before, give you kind of this grungy but genty kind of really heavy sound if you use it for heavy music. But yeah. They are cool. I've had a Schecter one that I reviewed, and that thing was awesome. But again, I thought I was going to get it, and then I was going to use it lots for like different applications, but it just sat there doing nothing after a while. And yeah, so they're super popular, but I wonder how much people are actually using them, or actually just using it for a bit of fun, or to try them out. Maybe that's why it's at the top of the second-hand list. maybe we're wrong about this list, and it is totally like, yeah, these guitars suck, and people are selling them.
Maybe there's a hidden spin to this, and Reverb is like, this is just all the crap people keep selling. It's people buying like, American jazz basses and going, why have I spent £1,400 on this? This is rubbish.
It's like number one is an Encore P-bass copy from China. What?
We've got, amazingly, coming in at number 1 is a Wilkinson P-bass.
It's Gear for Music P-bass. What?
Because I was going to say, let's be honest. If it was actual numbers getting thrown around, this would be like Harley Benton everywhere. There'd be loads of Harley Bentons, there's already loads of Squires, stuff like
time.
that. But
things like that, they just don't appear on Reverb, really.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not really the market for it.
I've never even been on Reverb, funnily enough. I looked just now.
Wow.
I've never been on the site. I watched the YouTube
Wow.
channel a lot, but because I just
Yeah.
assumed you would only in America. That's just what I assumed.
No, it's UK as well. It's where I got my Fujigen jazz bass.
Ah,
Bought it on
okay.
Reverb. It's basically just like eBay but for musicians. I've sold a couple of things. Actually, that's weird. I sold my bass six on Reverb. Not the Squire one. It was a Schecter, but I've contributed to this. Yeah, there's my Schecter bass six on there because I was like, it's going to be quite a specific audience. Maybe somebody has got a saved search on here for this, and it sold pretty quick on there. So I rate Reverb. I think it's pretty good. Sorry, I'm wheezing all over the place now. Get this man, get Darth Vader his inhaler.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Cool. So that is the list from Reverb. Let us know if there's any surprises on there. Have you bought one of these from Reverb? Is it you that's done this?
Is this your fault? Is this all you're doing?
Gary, listening to this, is that you?
This is a bunch of middle-aged men who've had midlife crises and bought Fender P basses thinking they can be Sting or something, and then gone, no, this is too hard. And then they've sold it on Reverb, and then Reverb have gone, I sense a marketing opportunity here.
Somebody has bought and sold 20 basses here. They started with a classic vibe.
It's actually one man's journey.
And what's funny is like you normally if you like sell and trade, you can kind of work your way up sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, when people start with like a P and then end
But
up
that's
with a tar
what this
or something.
list has done. Like, it's what's happened is
Well, not really, because they
ish. But this is what I'm getting at. So someone's gone up in value, through various iterations of the Fender P and all that sort of stuff. Early on, they bought a Hofner and realized it wasn't for them, so they went back to the grind. And then they got to about the number 4 spot and thought, oh, I know. I mean, I've had a lot of Fenders, and I do like Rage Against the Machine, and I do listen to Tool a little bit. So they've bought a Music Man. Very quickly gone, oh no, I don't like the picking hand placement on this. There's too much mid range. I don't like it. And they've gone back, and then finally they've realised all of these basses are just too big, and 4 strings isn't enough. And I kind of wanted to be a guitarist at the same time. So they've sold everything. All their wife has shouted at them because they have 19 basses.
Yeah, and this one does it all, right? All the sounds and all the strings.
Vera. Look at this Vera. It does everything, and it's purple.
Now, interestingly, none of this says. I'm just assuming that these are all 4 strings. Nothing has said that something is a 5 string. Although the Ray 4 is a 4 string, obviously. But no,
I think it's just 4.
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree. And, you know, realistically, in the highest sellers, it's going to be 4 strings. And there's no, like, left-handed ones on here, obviously, either. It's all going to be the most popular ones. But, yeah, interesting. An interesting list read out by 2 interesting boys. That brings us to the end of our podcast this week. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Chris, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Instagram at thatguyonbass. I believe I'm also on TikTok under the same username, but it's the same content on both platforms because I can't be bothered. So, so there's that. I do have a Twitter. Don't use it, so save yourself the hassle and don't bother. Pretty sure I've got a LinkedIn, but yeah, Instagram, that guy on bass. That is me. You can also subscribe to me on YouTube, but I just do shorts of covers. So if you need to pick between one of us to subscribe to on YouTube, you're probably better off going with me. I mean, you're probably better off going with Johnny.
This guy.
You put in a lot more effort on YouTube than I do.
Yeah, go subscribe to me on YouTube and go and follow Chris on Twitter. There you go. Done.
You can find me on MySpace. Exactly.
Oh. Got Bebo the lot.
Hit up my Linktree. Follow me on Linktree, guys.
Can you do that? Can you follow?
I don't know.
On Linktree?
I don't know why it was.
I use Linktree, but I've never had that. Weird.
I'm trying to think if there's a. I'm also just trying to run the clock up so it actually hits 2 hours. But I can't think of a practical application for Linktree in any way, shape, or form regarding following people. But it is a good tool, obviously.
They've updated their link. Wow.
How
exciting.
This person's added a virtual tip jar. Amazing. I will never use it.
Amazing. Get in the bin.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram at Johnny Dibble, on TikTok at Johnny Dibble Bass. Should make those the same, really, but oh well. Subscribe on. Oh, I've run out of fuel, Subscribe on YouTube. That's the one. YouTube, if you can, please. You might be listening to this on YouTube. If you're not, head over to youtube.com/Johnny Dibble, where you can find this podcast in video form. I say video form. You can't see us yet. Maybe in the future you will. Who knows? Haha, we'll see. And yeah, for weekly content that's going out on there. So follow me on there. If you want to submit questions to this podcast, you can absolutely do so via my Instagram stories. So look out, and Chris's stories as well. So look out for our posts on there asking for questions each week that we do this podcast.
5 seconds.
Lovely jubbly, and 2 hours. Very nice. There we go. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.